Yes, hello everybody once again. Welcome to vidIQ, the creator-obsessed YouTube education channel. And every single Tuesday, we welcome you into vidIQ's learning theater, as some of you get a little vulnerable, share your channels, and we offer some constructive criticism from our knowledge, our wisdom, our experience. Help you take your channels to the next step, get you motivated, inspired, and turn potentially your channel into a business. Now, this time of the live stream, usually I would be introducing my trusty wingman, my co-host, my gaming extraordinaire, is Dan. But I'm afraid this week the streak is coming to an end. I think he's probably done 174 live streams in a row. You can count that if you want. I just made that number up. The truth is, he needs a little break, a bit of R&R. Time to play a little bit of Nintendo Switch. So we've given him a couple of weeks off, and you join just me today, along with our very special guest. You may have seen him on the live streams in the past, but you may have seen him on some of our most successful videos on the YouTube channel because he is the title master of YouTube. You need help creating a hook, something intriguing, something curious, something click-worthy. Then I introduce to you Jake Thomas. Jake, welcome. It's good to have you back on the stream. How are you, sir?
Rob, I'm doing fantastic. I'm glad to be here. I'm feeling a little pressure, and leaving me big shoes to fill.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do apologize if nobody heard anything I was saying then, because I'm just seeing in the chat that the music was too loud. And you see, that's where I am right now. Not only am I having to turn the dials, but push the knobs this week as well. And it's all just consuming me, but I've got that sorted now. So yeah, what Jake and I are going to do for the next couple of hours is take a look at your channels with probably somewhat of a slant towards improving your titles. We'll probably do all of the usual stuff as well, but since Jake is, how do I put this, Jake? You just, if you were looking at the Matrix code, all you would see is just YouTube titles and numbers next to them. And that is 100% your job.
Yep. Yeah. I'm working on the rest of my YouTube game. I'm working on my thumbnails, working on retention, script writing, but titles is my jam.
Well, we're going to find out throughout this live stream why Jake is so proficient and so wise with titles. And yeah, Jake, maybe we can share with you some of my thumbnail knowledge if I have any. But before we do all of that, first of all, we do need to welcome in our brand new viewers to this live stream. Let us know in the chat if you are new. And for all of those who are regulars here, do welcome them into the live stream, because what we're going to do now is show you exactly how this live stream operates for the next 2 hours in just 48 seconds. Welcome to the vidIQ channel reviews live stream. Simply fill in the correct form in the video description and your channel will be considered for review during a live stream. Channel reviews are free, so no need to send us a super chat, and don't spam us in the live chat. We'll ignore it and you may be put in timeout. After the live stream, don't forget to download the vidIQ extension where you can get a custom channel audit, daily ideas, and an AI-powered video title generator. Link is in the description. If you submit your channel for review, expect the following. We are sharing nothing more than our knowledge, experience and passion as fellow creators. Thank you to all of our moderators who help us out on the live stream every week. You know who you are. Give us a like if you enjoy this live stream, subscribe if you love it, and share it with like-minded fellow creators. All right, let's get started. And we will get started by just reminding you of a couple of the housekeeping rules. We do welcome super chats, but they don't guarantee you a channel audit. Usually what we would do is take those super chats and answer your questions at various periods throughout the live stream. But again, as I say, because I'm running this live stream by myself this week, it's going to be really hard to keep an eye on both the comments and manage your channels and listen to what Jake's saying. So you're still welcome to send us super chats, but just to let you know, I do apologize if I forget to answer them try and give me a hint, prod me in the chat or something, or Jake, after 30 minutes say, let's do some super chats, and I'll try and remind myself. But I am very prone to forgetting stuff when I'm in the middle of a live stream. And finally, unfortunately, while YouTube does accept many types of channels onto a platform, we have to appreciate our audience, which we tend to think is PG. And so if there are any channels that we feel are inappropriate for our audience, then unfortunately we can't audit them. And we'll just let you know as we're going through those channels. But with all of that said, Jake, are we ready to look at some channels?
Let's do it.
All right, then. So what happens every single week is we audit the very first channel that's submitted on our forms that are in the description. You can fill them out now, and you may be randomly selected later on. But when the live stream went live, this channel was the first to submit on the non-gaming form, and that is Pedro Rocha. And he has 100 subscribers, 9 videos, so presumably some shorts. Very new to YouTube, it looks like here, at least in terms of volume of content. They made 1 video a year ago. That's 2,000 views. And then they made a video a month ago. So maybe they don't make that many long form videos. I'm going to have a look at the shorts as well. They've made a few shorts as well. Thanks to YouTube, it doesn't tell us when these were published. I'm just going to quickly check at the published date of the latest one, 17th of February. So before Jake jumps into anything about titles, what I would say here is that there's a lack of posting consistency. And I would ask this channel to commit to maybe posting once a fortnight, so that's 2 times a month, or once a week, just to get you into a regular cadence with this type of content. I'll maybe look at the thumbnails in a second, but Jake, you've had a little bit of time to maybe look at the titles to begin with. I'm not going to tell you to talk about the titles on every single channel, but let's kick off with some title thoughts on this one.
So I did look at this channel yesterday when we were kind of, doing a little preview of which channels to review. And I was kind of thinking the same thing. We can give all the tips in the world, but if you don't post more than 3 or 9 videos, then it doesn't really matter. How much research or what skills you're building. And I noticed that on a couple of channels that, it seems like, I think like the most important thing is just to kind of get your feet wet, get some data, and really just to go for it. So yes, I 100% agree. That being said, do this before sowing your seeds. I love it. It's a little bit of almost like a warning. It's like, hey, do this before sowing your seeds. Also, it builds a lot of curiosity. Do this. Like, all right, what do I do before sowing my seeds? So, yeah, I really like that. I just want to see more of it. The first crop of the season. It's interesting because like the title on the left, the first or the most recent title is pretty different than the other two. The other two they have those pipes. They're long. So, and it'd be interesting to see. I would assume that the titles like, do this before sowing your seeds. I assume that those would do better because it's more clear. It's easy to read and understand. It's got curiosity, a little bit of almost negativity with the warning. So yeah, I just want more data on that.
So what I'm going to try and do, Jake, when you're talking about the titles is you have these like keywords that you often use. And in this one, you said warning, and you have other parts of your formula, the formula of your title. So every time you mention it, because there's other stuff like opening a loop and negativity. So every time you say those words, I don't know, I'm going to try and do a sound effect to remind me that, the creator's using one of the formulas, and to go into a little bit more about it. So if we were just to talk about, a warning, why does that make the video more intriguing to potentially click on?
Yeah, because people like we're kind of scared of making mistakes. You could talk about somebody's mistakes, but also a warning. It kind of we're biologically wired to listen to warnings. So like pretend that Rob, you and we live in the caveman era, 10,000 years ago or whatever. And I'm like, hey Rob, there are some blueberries outside. You should go pick them. You might be like, yeah, maybe I will, maybe I won't. But if I say, hey, Rob, there's a saber-toothed tiger outside, don't go outside, then that's life or death. And if you don't listen to me, then you're going to die. So, so we're biologically wired to listen to warnings more. So, in this case, do this before sowing your seeds. That's kind of like a warning. So you're kind of leveraging that that biology, or that just the natural cause that we, or tendency that we have to listen to warnings. I've seen this framework work a lot in travel channels too. Do this before visiting Thailand, or do this before visiting Iceland. So so that's definitely one of those kind of frameworks that can be used in a bunch of different for a bunch of different channels.
And then maybe to emphasize that in the thumbnail, they could have included maybe like a consequence, like this is maybe what happens if you don't do what I'm going to tell you about in the video. I don't think this thumbnail's bad. It kind of gives us an idea of this is a solution before you to do something before you, but the person holding the items, it's still a little bit vague. But having said that, it's still not a bad thumbnail. But you would definitely agree, Jake, that along with a title, the thumbnail needs to complement it as much as possible. And there's perhaps a tiny bit of a disconnect here.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect word for titles and thumbnails, is they need to complement each other. I mean, and also you zoomed in on that title, but what are those words on the top above? It's this.
Oh yeah. DIY compost sifter, but I can only read that because I'm using a magnifying glass, and I've blown up the thumbnails a little bit on the computer.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of taking up empty space, or I'm not taking up empty space, but like it's a waste of space because you can't read it. It looks like it's keywords, kind of like keyword stuffing, but it's in the title, or it's in the thumbnail. So I don't think it's I don't think they really serve a purpose. But I like it's this simple. You've got like a benefit there, and then in your title you have like a warning and curiosity. So you're kind of attacking the audience from all sorts of angles. Benefit, desire, fear, curiosity. All the emotions that make people click. So this is a pretty good one.
So Pedro, first of all, congratulations on 100 subscribers. From 9 videos, not that many creators will achieve that. And even from this video a month ago, I would say to have 400 views on it is still very, very encouraging. So as Jake and I said, before you start really tweaking these titles and these thumbnails, commit to some posting consistency, whatever that is and however it's going to work for your channel. So moving on, we're going to go into a hard part of the live stream that's going to be a bit of a problem throughout this live stream because I'm not a gaming expert. Jake, are you a gaming expert?
I have not touched a game in 20 years.
I play a lot of games, but I do not watch YouTube gaming channels. But we're going to fumble through this. The one thing I will ask, and I always ask this of our gamers, what game are you playing this week? So I think I said to everybody last week I was playing Crisis 3, which was fine, but it gave you an overpowered weapon, which made it very, very easy. Finished that. And now I've just moved on to Wolfenstein, I think New Order. So I'm giving that a go as well. As you can tell, I like my first-person shooters. But do let us know in the chat what video game you are playing, because BigDesmond is telling us that they play horror games. So, Jake, even though we're not gaming experts, we can certainly look at these titles and think about how they can be very curious and intriguing and almost creating that shock and horror in the titles. Just to take this one at the very beginning, Trapped on Treasure Island, Oblitus Casa Part 2. For me, I would say that's a somewhat formulaic, generic, not very exciting title. Feels a bit keywordy as opposed to intriguing. How might this creator improve his title, especially in the horror genre, where there's probably plenty of opportunity to build that intrigue?
Yeah, I agree. The first thing I noticed was that it seems like all of their titles are in caps, at least like the first part. And that makes it harder to read. You can't emphasize anything if everything is capitalized.
Right.
So that's a simple change, that anybody can make, and if, sometimes people like to capitalize one word in the title, which is great. Or, I typically capitalize just like the first letter of every word. But I think people do this to maybe kind of feel like they're being a little bit more dramatic, maybe get attention, but it's just harder to read. And it takes away an opportunity that you have to emphasize something. When everything is caps, you can't do that. So that's one, just like the first thing I noticed here. Trapped on Treasure Island, Oblivious Casa Part 2. I don't know. I mean, honestly, these are a bunch of words like, since I don't know anything about gaming, it's they just seem like a bunch of words to me. I mean, so we have Part 2. I don't love the Part 2 because I'm kind of looking for Part 1.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess it's visiting Mickey's cursed treasure island.
Presumably it's this one, but with the longer titles, part numbers get cut off, and we would always argue that it's fine to have a sequence of videos on a channel, but you probably want to bury the fact that it's a part of a series, at least in a thumbnail and a title, because the immediate assumption is that the viewer says to themselves, "Oh, part 2. Does that mean I have to watch part 1 to be able to understand part 2? And like, if you're on part 11, do I have to watch the entire series and then come back to this video?"
I mean, that's how I'm feeling right now. Like you're probably watching me like, all right, what's going on? Part 2. Like I'm just a little confused. So I mean, trapped on Treasure Island, I guess, if maybe this is for people who know and love the game, that, trapped on Treasure Island doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
So, so maybe if your audience is like people who know exactly what that means, then sure, maybe that's kind of getting their attention. But, I'd probably try to speak in more broad terms, that anybody can know or can kind of understand. So, instead of maybe trapped on Treasure Island, trapped on this deserted island or something, because everybody knows what a deserted island is, but Treasure Island, I'm just not sure what that means. Visiting Mickey's cursed treasure island, I mean, most people know who Mickey is. I'm assuming it's Mickey Mouse. So that makes a little bit more sense to me. But I guess in my opinion, I don't know what those words mean. So it really, and also it really makes, comes down to knowing your audience. If your audience knows what all that stuff means, then yes, like, that's totally okay, because I am definitely not the target audience here.
I'm thinking with horror games that the one thing that's always apparent is severe stakes and consequences. Like if I fail to go down this corridor, then I am going to get mutilated by this thing that's chasing me. And so I look at this title here, Jake, and I think, can I beat this game? It adds a stake before you even click on it. That might suggest to the viewer, is this game particularly difficult? Like, is it notorious to beat? At least there's a bit of intrigue and a question being presented there. The scariest SpongeBob game ever. Now that seems like a dichotomy. These two things shouldn't go together in a title.
Yes.
And they work well, but then the thumbnail, I should be seeing something related to SpongeBob, like a very terrifying version of that character. So I think some of these titles have a right idea, but as a whole package, it's not all quite wrapping up nicely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love the scariest SpongeBob game ever, because it's speaking in kind of more broad terms. It's taking things to an extreme. All right, it's a lot of negativity out there. I know what that means, but I don't know what trapped on Treasure Island.
Sure.
So I think just speaking in terms of like in terms that everybody can understand.
And then finally, there are some promising videos here. You've got 84 subscribers. Some of them are getting 45 views, 20 views, 30 views, but then some of them are hitting triple digits. Like you got 200 views here, 150 views there, 100 views there. So there are outliers. And certainly in the thumbnails and the titles, you can be picking that out. I guess the other question would be, how many video games are you playing? Because I think, or even on this set of thumbnails, I'm seeing maybe 4 or 5 horror games. Can your audience keep up with every single game that you're playing? And do you need to niche down a little bit? Like Squidward's Horror. So I assume that's one game that you're playing among many others. And these 2 videos got more than 100 views. So that seems to be a more successful series for you. So maybe just trimming down the fat of all of the games that you're playing. And then finally, horror games are always a little difficult to thumbnail, Jake, because typically
I was going to ask you about the thumbnails.
They are dark. Yeah, you have to. It's really hard to try and evoke that sense of horror, which from usually a dark game where there's one thing that's going to jump out from nowhere, and because it's a static thumbnail, that can make it really tricky. So I'm thinking the more terrifying faces, like this one, almost jumps out of a screen, and
Yes.
you know he eats me in the face almost. So that is like I think a better example, and it's a well-performing video. Whereas this one here, the latest one again, it's just 2 very dark blurred faces along with the game logo, I presume, and it's not really telling me much or getting me excited. But I do appreciate that horror thumbnails can be a very tricky thing to get just right.
What do you think about, you know, dark mode versus light mode, YouTube, and then you know these thumbnails kind of blend in?
Yeah, it's a good question. I guess the problem is that you don't get analytics on how many people use light and dark mode. You would argue probably that the majority of people use dark mode. So absolutely, you are right in that some of these do blend in. But I guess what's the solution there? Maybe you put like a red border around each of them, you know, to have that idea of blood dripping down your frame or something. That might be an idea. But yeah, it's a good question. It is a good question. We haven't really come up with a perfect answer for that.
Mm-hmm. And I guess, you know, something that I do like about thumbnails is just clarity. You know, clear thumbnails with these, you know, kind of most recent 3. They're dark, blurry, a little bit harder to see. You know, at least from where I am now. But the one that you pointed out with the green face with all the teeth.
Yeah.
You know, that and the big bright red lips there. Yeah, that stands out to me a lot because it's pretty terrifying. And same thing with the baby too.
Indeed. All right, so that is BigDesmond. I think we've successfully negotiated our first gaming channel of this live stream. And I just wanted to quickly give a shout out to our moderators who do an awesome job every single week, including Slavgard. I see Tish is in there as well. Really appreciate your support. And Victoria, who every single week takes these channels that we're auditing and puts them into an archive. So if you check out the video description, you will see all of the videos, the channels that we've audited in the past. And you can check out if your channel's been audited, or if you're looking for a particular type of channel, travel, horror, for example, then maybe you will see a channel to audit that was audited that was similar to yours. I'm kind of falling over my words because Jeff has just jumped into the live stream. Jeff, how's it going?
Hey, how you guys doing? Good morning.
What's up, Jeff?
How you doing, man?
Thank you for rescuing me. Like, I was getting stressed out just trying to do everything here, Jeff. Can I just ask, what time is it where you are?
It is 7:25 in the morning.
Now that is commitment. I don't know why I played the Inception sound there, but Jeff, really appreciate it.
Perfect. It was perfect.
Let's audit the next channel then. We are going to audit MBXfilms. And what I like about channels is if I can look at a channel and within 5 seconds, I know where I am and I know what I'm looking at. That's already a thumbs up. And just from the thumbnails themselves with the Ghostbuster models, more Ghostbuster stuff. And this is about toys and models and the nostalgia as well, I think, because all of this looks from the retro 80s and 90s, which it is, as it says on the channel banner. So let's jump into a little more investigation here, Jake. What are your thoughts here first?
So the first thing that I was kind of thinking with this is that they seem to be formulaic. I think, like you said earlier, they seem more descriptive than they need to be. So you know, gold dust for my WWF Attitude Era Mattel action figure collection. You know, that's just it's a statement for, like, you know, exactly what it is. You know, versus all the way on the left there, ridiculous bootleg
Yeah.
toys I got from the Philippines. Like, that adds a little bit more color, a little bit more kind of personality into the titles. It's not quite as descriptive, but it adds a little bit more emotion. Bootleg toys, like, yeah, that's crazy. That's an interesting thing. Versus just Superman toy from Philippines. So I think you could take things to the extreme. Talk about maybe like something interesting about these toys instead of instead of just what they are. I do like to take things to the extreme and kind of put them in a bucket. So like the most rare toy, or the cheapest, the most expensive, just something that's interesting about them. The weirdest, the biggest, the smallest, the fastest. I typically like titles like that, and this could be a good way to title these. If kind of tell a story about them. Like, I got this this action figure, and it is the most rare thing in the world. Here's why, and then you can kind of go from there and give your review. But I think you should start a story with your titles instead of just describing what they are.
If this channel was on Amazon, you'd be able to find everything because you were looking for these models. It'd be perfect. But as you say, there's a little bit more intrigue here, and I agree with this one. And I would argue that you would probably want to zoom in on a terrible part of this model, because it looks like that face there is, I don't know where that's from. But yeah, a nice, intriguing idea there. Jeff, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the titles are indeed just very matter of fact, and some of them just don't give me a reason to click unless I was very much inherently interested. But it kind of lacks a little bit of intrigue. So I agree with Jake. Giving me a little bit more. The bootleg one, I definitely agree that one is like leaning in the right direction of where we want to go. And we're not talking about making stuff like a clickbaity or anything, but just adding some sort of curiosity to it can really, really help. Give me a reason to want to click, especially if this thumbnail is being put in front of me as somebody who's never seen your channel before. You got to give me something to entice me to want to click on this. But aside from that, man, I mean, overall, I like how colorful the thumbnails are. I like the fact that they're using they're using the some of the logos, like ECW. They got WWF's old school logo in there as well, which is pretty cool to see. But the only other thing I would say is sometimes there's a lot going on in some of them. And I would probably try to reduce it to maybe less than 4 elements, hopefully maybe 3 elements, like how you have the bootleg and Superman. That's 2 elements basically. And then you have, WWF Attitude, and then you have Goldust, right? So they're a little more simplified. You have Kenner, and then you have the Ecto 1. So I don't know if it's going to be worthwhile going back to these older thumbnails and changing some of them, but some of them are just a little bit on the busy side. These newer ones, you can see the thumbnail evolution there.
Sure.
Where they are definitely improving. So I want to give them a little bit of a shout out for that, because you can see how they are making some subtle changes, but they are effective.
I'm just going to check to see if they are doing shorts. I feel as if they definitely should be with their type of content. It looks as if they're not, or these are older shorts or shorts about their family, which seem very different to the type of content on their channel. So I don't really understand why these are, well, let me just check. When these were published.
I think they're unboxings.
So the 21st of March. So are they surprise unboxing gift for other children? I'm not quite sure. Just looking at the thumbnails, this looks like a completely different channel to me. Like almost maybe it's philanthropic, giving away stuff on the shorts, but I'd want to see these videos almost repurposed into quick shorts, like a quick 360 rotation of these characters and like who they are and one fun fact about each character in a YouTube short. But this is just my initial observation, just looking at these few shots that you've done. They don't necessarily exactly marry up with the titles and thumbnails I'm seeing here.
Yeah. Additionally, they have a lot of content on individual things. And another way that they could repurpose and, you know, sort of work smarter, not harder, is to think about making some listicles or some compilations of
Yeah.
the toys that they have as is, because that stuff can work really well. I mean, we've seen it across so many different spaces, and I know Jake knows what I'm talking about too. When you go into the top 5 space, or when you're going into the 5, you know, best WWF action figures of this era or whatever, the creator would know this far better than I would, but then he could just do like an intro and outro, and then take the videos he's already made, cut them up, and make these compilations, so you can repurpose your content not only into shorts but also into these other videos that could, you know, be absolute bangers on this channel.
Yep.
I agree 100%.
So that is MBXfilms there with their channel. So Jake, let's find out a little bit more about your good self. You've talked a little bit about titles, but, you know, this is on the vidIQ live stream. You do have a permanent home, and tell us a little bit more about it and why people should be signing up to Creator Hooks, because you do it every week and it's free. And I think that's what most people need to know. But what do you talk about in this newsletter?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a lot of channels that, you know, you can kind of, you don't need to like, you know, reinvent the wheel every time. You know, every channel has kind of the same audience, which is humans, and human psychology has not changed. You know, earlier we talked about cavemen, right? You know, because we're, you know, some things are just biologically like wired into us. So it's all about psychology, and there are lots of frameworks that you can kind of borrow, or, you know, bits and pieces that you can borrow from different industries, you know, and bring them over into your industry. So like for this one, you know, mistakes, like, you know, almost every channel can talk about mistakes, you know, because people just were scared of messing up. So that's what Creator Hooks is. It's a newsletter every Monday morning. I send out 5 kind of viral videos, and you know, how, you know, why they work so well, and then how you can use them for your channel.
Indeed. And as we're scrolling through, we were seeing these you know, these keywords: curiosity, negativity, lists. And this is what I think makes the titles accessible to all types of channels. If you use these formulas, sometimes you can just take a title and almost remove one word and then fill in that blank, and then it's appropriate to your audience. And you'll see this. I think, how many have you done now, Jake? You've been doing it for at least a year now, right?
I have. My next one is going to be my 98th or 99th edition of Creator Hooks. So
nice.
We're coming up on 100 here.
Congratulations.
Thank
so
you.
This is Creator Hooks. I put a link in the video description if you want to sign up now. And as I said before, it's absolutely free. So why wouldn't you sign up? Let's move on to the next channel. And it is Pallet Fortress. I think we've audited this channel before, but a long time ago, maybe 6 months plus. They have over 5,000 subscribers. So they are building an audience here, and some of their videos are getting some decent views. 2,000, 2,500, 3,000. Youngest set of creators. So it's awesome to see that they're already finding success. We'll probably have a little bit of a discussion about the thumbnails a little afterwards, but Jake, titles.
There was a couple things, a couple thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts. One, I'm pretty sure these kids are like in 4th grade, and they have 2,000 subscribers and, you know, a bunch of videos. That's incredible. Like, you know, I just want to like give them a shout. And they got 5,000 subscribers. Like, good for them. That's amazing. I didn't, you know, start on YouTube until I was like 20 something, and here these kids are. They're gonna have, you know, 10, 15 years ahead of me. You know, it's probably the same with, you know, all 3 of us. You know, these kids are getting after it early. So that's amazing. You know, so I don't want to, you know, kind of, you know, be too hard on the strategy, because just keep doing it. And like, if you start in 4th grade, then yeah, you're going to have plenty of time to figure it out. Like, you know, just keep the passion and keep having fun with it. That being said, if you do want to kind of get a little bit more serious about it, and maybe, you know, kind of, you know, be more successful faster, you might want to just really consider the strategy. So it seems to me like this channel is a bit of a, you know, it's kind of like your Facebook page. Like, hey, here's what I'm doing now. Here's what I'm doing then. We've got a flag football video. we've got a basketball video, you've got a couple different things. So it seems just like, this is like their little social media page. And for the most part, that's not really how success on YouTube comes about. You kind of want to think about your audience and think, who is watching, why are they watching, how can I, delight them, how can I, interest them, and just kind of give them exactly what they want. That is not really the case here. It kind of seems like they're thinking more of themselves than the audience, which is, at this point, it's totally fine. But I think they could be doing a better job eventually with strategy. As far as titles go, the second video, one of their second most recent videos is a 9-year-old miraculously reacts after vanishing into the woods. That is cool, except that's not what the video is about. So, this video is about, I just checked it out yesterday. It was about like gear. So they're kind of reviewing gear.
Okay.
So the title is it's a cool title, but it's not, it's not what the video is about. So, there's you can be cute or you can be clever, or you can be like, clear, clarity beats cleverness all the time. So here was just an example of them trying to be clever with a cool title, and then kind of spinning it, in the video a little bit, but I don't think that was the best strategy for this, for this video, because they reviewed some pretty cool products. So you need to tell your audience that in the beginning, just so they know what they're getting into, when they click. So, and just focusing, having straight up titles, not being too fancy. There are some ways to make a kind of a boring title more interesting. But yeah, just having a little bit of a different strategy, and, just thinking about the audience and what do they want.
I really like this combination of thumbnail and title, where it's a top 10 tutorial, but then it really goes after their target audience. So easy, even kids can do it. And that's illustrated by the fact that they've built it in the thumbnail. And a bit messy with a montage over here, but I think that's a really effective one. And as you say, I think, Jake, when they are spending time camping outdoors, reviewing those products, that's when their audience appreciate them most. But then when they're doing a camera test, which is probably something they should have just saved for themselves, or they're doing something which maybe isn't quite as relatable, they're taking part in a basketball competition that is 56 minutes long as well. That's probably something that they should save for themselves, their friends, their family, but not for the wider audience. Jeff, any observations on thumbnails or anything else you may have spotted?
No, I mean, you guys pretty much nailed it there. I think one thing I would say with the thumbnails is you can see how they did evolve a bit over time. I think one thing for whoever is actually making the thumbnails, I'm not sure if, I'm assuming someone's helping them with this channel. I would say settle, because there's a lot of different colors and different things going on, and it sometimes it just doesn't work. Like the one at the top there, even though it's got a couple thousand views, the orange, the boys gone feral over the darker background. So some are green, some are yellow, some are orange. I would just want them to sort of settle on something that really pops, even if it was just that bright yellow Pallet Fortress type of color, but something that just kind of stands out. I'd like them to settle on something. So it's not every single thumbnail looks very different, and it could be from a different channel. But aside from that, overall, I mean, I really like where you guys are coming from with this, and I do agree that at some point, some thought into their avatar and channel focus would really go a long way, and really kind of starting to help things take off a little bit faster for them.
Yeah, one thing I have like a personal channel that I have 0 subscribers, and that's where I make my little like family vacation videos and just other stupid things, that I don't really want anybody to see. It's for me and my friends and family. And that's, that's just, it's a fun thing for me. But if you're trying to, to take this a little bit more seriously and grow a little quicker, then, that's probably not the best strategy. So I'm wondering if they could, almost have 2 channels, Pallet Fortress, and then, and Mason and Sam.
If you look at the about section, our outdoor adventures, and then tutorials about camping, cooking, bushcraft, and fun outdoor projects. Then you go to their videos, and when they stick to their value proposition, they get a decent amount of views in the thousands. But the moment they go into other topics, basketball, the fight for women's rights, camera tests, football championships, then the views fall away, because that's your audience saying this was as advertised on the channel. So if you look at your about section, read the about section before you start work on the next video idea, then say, does it align with my about section? I think you'll be able to move those videos into a different channel if that's what you want to do. But I agree with you, Jake, to have 5,000 plus subscribers. They've even had one short which has had over 1 million views. I hope that's not disrupting the channel too much. But then to have a level of consistency of views over the thousands, I would be very, very happy and satisfied with the success you've already had on the channel. And I think I was able to pick out a super chat from them. So what I'm going to do now is just pop this question up, and I'll get the super chat music kicking on, as long as it's not too loud. So we always say make short titles, and I'm sure we would all generally agree with that. The shorter the better. Doesn't take as long to read, more instinctive, more intuitive. But when we installed the vidIQ title generator, it was creating super long titles. Which advice should we take? So I'm going to go to Jake first, and then I'm going to try and use the title generator in the background to try and get some context for this.
Yeah, so with short titles, they need to be, as short as they can be, in general. Oftentimes, if you say like, I can't believe this happened, that doesn't give enough context. It's like, sure, there's a lot of like, quote unquote curiosity there, but curiosity is best when people know a little bit about, what your topic is, not too much, because then there's no curiosity because they already know, and not too little because they don't care. So, when you're using curiosity in titles, you need to be kind of settled in that nice little gray area. And then also, keywords, not keywords exactly for the algorithm or for YouTube, but keywords for the audience, so that they know, hey, this video is for me. I can't believe this happened. It doesn't have any keywords, but it doesn't tell the audience what the video is about. So, you want to try to be short-ish, but and then if they're too long and wordy and just a bunch of long words with pipes and question marks and periods and all that stuff, then it becomes a little bit harder to read. So as you're quickly scrolling through YouTube, you want someone to be able to, just glance at a title, instantly know what this video is about and say, oh, this is interesting to me. So you need to find that nice little middle ground for, short titles, not too short where, there's no curiosity or interest or anything, and not too long where, someone can't read it and understand it instantly.
That was a title knowledge bomb from Jake there. So how should you use a title generator? For me, it's less is more. Put in 2 or 3 words. So in this one, I just typed in 10 tutorial, and I'm bringing up some titles. Some of them are a little bit too long, but others are between 50 and 60 characters, which I think is a sweet spot. And you don't have to use these titles verbatim. You can remove a bit of it or just tweak it to fit your needs. And if these titles don't work, you just press refresh and you get some more. And again, they all create that little bit of curiosity. Unbelievable tent trick that will blow your mind. That sounds pretty intriguing to me, Jake, doesn't it? If you could just complement it with a really intriguing thumbnail, and that title isn't too long. So yeah, when you're using the title generator, don't write out a full title. Just write 1 or 2 keywords that describe your video, and then you'll get some really intriguing titles that are a little shorter than what you expect. But thank you for the question, Pallet Fortress. I do appreciate that.
Yeah,
okay.
I agree.
We're going to take some more super chats. So if you want to do super chat, send it in now while we're answering this question. And then I may remember to answer it. So we've got one more super chat at the moment, and I'm just going to play the music again. There we go. So Will's Annie Corner, thank you for the $10. Second channel just got monetized. Congratulations. been watching you and Think Media for years and has been so helpful. Thanks. If you need another guest for the live streams, I'm ready. Well, we're getting people offering their services. Well, that's an interesting offer. Thank you very much. Who knows? We'll see. Jeff has saved the day this week to fill in for the absent Dan, but that was appreciated. Are there any sort of more super chats? I'm going to give it like 10 seconds for any more super chats. In fact, Jeff, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you tell everybody what vidIQ Max is for 30 seconds. And if there are any more super chats, we'll take them. If not, we'll go back to channel audits. So you have the floor, Jeff, for 30 seconds.
Yeah, sure, man. So yeah, vidIQ Max, man. So that is our group coaching program. So if you want to work with 3 coaches, myself, Travis, and Alexi, and have access to all of the vidIQ tools, right? All the boost tools, all the different tools that we offer, but you also get access to 40 plus sessions where we teach you all the different ins and outs of how to use YouTube. We also have expert guests such as Jake Thomas, who's on the stream with us today, and a bunch of different creators. It's an amazing option that you have. Now, it's not for everyone, and this we know, but for those people who are interested, it's an amazing program. We also have a private Discord set up so that you can have help with your thumbnails, your titles, your video ideas, if you need feedback on your channel. If you just have general YouTube questions and you want to be able to get answers from people who do know what they're talking about, then it's an excellent option for you. So we've been doing Max for a little bit over a year now. We've had some amazing channels, tons of channels who've managed to get, their 1,000, managed to get monetized. So yeah, it's an excellent program. I'm a huge fan of it because basically vidIQ gave us the opportunity to create a program that is like, what would I have wanted when I was first getting started as a YouTuber? What are the resources that I would have wanted when I first got started? And vidIQ allowed us to make that, and that's what it is. So for anybody interested, obviously Tish is putting the links in the chat.
Thanks, Tish.
Yeah, it's not for everyone. Obviously, this is what we always say. It's not for everyone, but for the people who it is for, make sure you join us. Make sure you check it out.
Yeah, if vidIQ Max isn't for you, then do check out the secret link in the description, because that might be for you, as it's a little bit cheaper. But thank you, Jeff, for selling the virtues of vidIQ Max. And yeah, also thank you for mentioning that Jake has already done a session, like an hour-long session about titles, and
it's super popular.
It is.
I know people are watching it multiple times to like try to absorb what was in there. So yeah, it's excellent.
I'm glad to hear that.
Lockdown Life, thank you for the £9.99 super chat. Just hit 1 million subscribers. Oh my goodness, 1 million subscribers. Have you got your gold play button yet? I wanted to say thank you. You and Dan reviewed my channel about 2 years ago. I remember that I think we reviewed your channel. You'd already had like a big hit, like a couple of million views video. I think it's a Minecraft channel from what I remember, like a survival Minecraft channel. I apologize if I'm wrong there. But yeah, you're more than welcome. And as a message to everybody else, in 2 years' time, if you get your channel audited, you will have 1 million subscribers guaranteed. All right, next super chats here. Wow, 65 Mexican dollars. Is that awesome? YouTube podcast retention rate drops to 20% at the 30-second mark. I make quite clearly it is a podcast, so I don't know what I'm doing wrong. That is a challenge, isn't it? Like anything that is an hour long on YouTube, your retention graph does that at the very beginning and then is like 5% watching it. Jeff, you're the same. How do we fix this? It's a struggle.
Here's the thing, right? Even with the retention graph dropping like that, because mine dropped horribly, still getting thousands of views, hundreds of thousands of views. So I really wouldn't sweat it on a video that's that long, like if it's a podcast or a live stream or something like that. Honestly, I really wouldn't sweat it too much because of the length of that piece. So if anything, chapterize it if you can chapterize it out for people after the fact, but really don't really sweat it. Just making sure, one, that you're going in with a game plan, right? Like you do for any video, having a compelling title, having a good thumbnail, talking about the topics that you put into that title and thumbnail that's going to be key to getting people to click in. So, and the reason I'm saying this, you can have a ton of replay value on a video that's 90 minutes or even longer. One of my tier list videos is 90 plus minutes. The retention graph on it is horrible, and it's still getting thousands of views a day. and it's like 150, 160K views total so far on a 90-minute live stream. So I wouldn't sweat it too much as far as that goes. If we're talking a shorter video, then I would be thinking about how can I improve these retention rates. But on a podcast or live stream, I really wouldn't sweat it.
Boom, there you are. Thank you for the super chats. I will try my hardest to remember to go back to super chats if there are any more, but I'm not seeing any right now, so we should go back to our channel audits. Thanks, Jeff, for doing that. Circle H Scuba. This channel is all the E's: education, equipment, experiences, environment. You missed out expensive. Scuba diving is damn expensive, hey man, from what I remember.
If we put glasses on Jake, isn't that the same guy in the back?
Yeah, right.
What the heck is going on?
That's a bit of a doppelganger there. All right, so
slide it in to get my own channel reviewed here.
That's it, right?
well, all right, Jay. These thumbnails are terrible. Come on, get to work. Right, so 400 subscribers and thumbnails that are quite contrasting. They look as if they're thumbnails that have been designed from the ground up every single time, so they look like they're from different channels. So maybe a bit of work needs to be done there. I am getting occasionally 5-minute craft vibes, just a little bit. I don't know if that's because it's yellow and black text. From view-wise, spiky, 1,600 views, 320 views, 46 views, 68 views. So maybe there's a bit of topic jumping going on as well here within scuba diving. I've said a lot there. Jake, if you just want to give us maybe 30 seconds on what you found, and then I'll pass it over to Jeff.
Yeah, just my first thought, and kind of the biggest thing is the strategy. You know, who are you making videos for? Yeah, it seems to be a lot of keywords here. So, you know, top 5 celebrity scuba divers, you know, Valentine's Day gifts, you know, losing weight for scuba diving. Those are all seem like videos for a different person, different audience. You know, so I don't think there's a lot of bingeability in this, you know, because it just a little confused at who exactly your avatar is, and you know, and are you making videos for that person? I don't think so.
Jeff, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I think sometimes we have to dig a little deeper, right? So even if they're what they're thinking is their avatar is basically anything to do with scuba diving, that's not deep enough. We're not thinking deep enough, because a channel that's about scuba diving gear is not necessarily the same thing as scuba diving meditation or top 5 celebrities. You know what I mean? So there's kind of 2 different things. So we really need to narrow down your focus in a sense of who it is I'm making videos for. Now, am I making videos giving advice to a very new, very beginner scuba diver? That channel is going to be quite different from somebody who's just reviewing gear.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that's one of the things, even though it, you know, psychologically we think that's the same thing, it really is not. It's really not. So like a channel that's talking to beginner scuba divers is not going to be the same thing as someone talking to advanced scuba divers. So I really want them to kind of dig a bit deeper about what it is they want to do, create a filter of who your avatar is to a very, very, very deep level. And then every time you have an idea for a video, you have to filter it past that avatar. Does this video make sense to this viewer? And if the answer is no, come up with a different video idea.
So the 2 things here are, if either of these videos went viral, you've got a big problem, because they're for entirely different audiences. That for entertainment, that for meditation and relaxation. Now, when I saw about most popular, you could see that there was a bit of a theme through here, like when it's just about the gear and the beginner tutorials, those videos seem to perform better. When I go to the about section, it is for new and experienced divers. So already you have quite a big breadth of different skill sets. I mean, if you were to ask us here at vidIQ, although we try to cater to all our audiences, I would say 80 to 90% of the time, our target audience is channels less than 1,000 subscribers aiming for monetization, because we know that's who generally watches our videos. So there is, as you say, Jeff, there is a bit of a pathway already being laid out here a little bit, and that they should be going after the beginner scuba diver experience, and maybe just not reinforce that enough on some of these. Like, does a beginner need to know how to tie knots for scuba diving? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I'm completely new to this topic.
But I agree. I would focus really on the things that beginners need to know, mostly because that is going to be a much more receptive and a much larger pool of viewers than the experts who already know this stuff and don't need to come to YouTube to get that kind of advice. They might be looking for the gear reviews because they're already experts and they might be interested in that stuff, but the actual like the tactical stuff, like how to tie these knots and the ins and outs of mixing your gases and like all that stuff, that is the kind of stuff that you should be focusing on for sure.
And then for shorts, what I'm seeing here is the scuba diving experience. So what you'll find when you go scuba diving, and maybe some facts and interesting things that happen underwater, but again, not necessary for tutorials. So I wonder if that could be a little bit of a problem, splitting their audience in different directions. Jake, we haven't really spoken much about shorts yet. Are you really paying attention to shorts when you think about the titles, or is that like is that Jake Thomas 2.0 for creator hooks?
That's Jake Thomas 2.0.
Yeah.
For the most part, I'm thinking about long form titles. With shorts, I don't know. It seems like there are some different variables that go into whether or not a video or short is successful than long form. Retention, obviously, and a couple of other things. So no, I don't think too much about shorts right now.
Then let's move on to Ben and Kirk. Go ahead,
Rob. Sorry to go back to Circle H. I do have one more quick thing about titles specifically. So a lot of his titles, it seems like he's trying to rank in search.
Yes,
and he's writing a lot of questions. And I think typically statements do better if you're trying to rank in search. To let the audience know, like, hey, this. I will kind of, give you what this video will give you what you're searching for. So who are the top 5 celebrity scuba divers could be written as, top 5 celebrity scuba divers. Want to lose weight and improve your health. How to scuba dive for weight loss. So making statements, a bold statement, a bold promise to your audience that you are going to deliver what they're searching for is a kind of a better way to write titles to rank in search.
Yeah. I don't know if this is going to come up again during this live stream, but I am starting to formulate a video and a concept whereby even if your content is search based, you shouldn't necessarily pitch the video as a searched based piece of content. I might as well go through this now. So this is actually to do with a video that you and I made, Jake, not the one that we just did, the one before. So if I just do a quick search here, I should be able to find, where is it gone?
Hey, on a good note, he is taking notes. So
there we go. Right. Yeah. So this video is titled How to Title Your YouTube Videos to Get More Views, 7 Best Strategies. That is purely search based, right? If people want to know how to write titles or do a search, maybe this comes up in search. And, 340 days after it went live, it's done all right, 70,000 views. It gets most of its traffic from search. Now, Jake and I made a video about how to write titles. But what I call buried the lead. And I've got to now try and remember what the video is actually called, because it makes it a little harder to find these videos when I hide the titles. But I think it is this one. So it's called Small Channels Do This to Double Your Views in 5 minutes. Now, the video is all about how to write better titles. But what we're trying to do here is create intrigue and curiosity and say to the target audience, you're a small channel, right? But if we have this strategy contained within this video, and if you do it, you're going to double your views and it only takes 5 minutes of your time. So it creates a tremendous amount of intrigue. And this video, 230 days later, is getting tons of views, not only from browse, which is where you want to be. You want YouTube just surfacing your content whereby the viewer doesn't have to intentionally find it. It's just coming up on the homepage. But it's also getting views from search as well. It is still a search-based video. So I think the long-winded way of saying this, Jake, is that the common sense idea is to try and rank in search for search-based problem solution content. But if you think about the emotional intrigue of the video, and like you think about what does the viewer want? They want more views, they want more subscribers. But then the actual content is what you tell them what they need, which is to write better titles. That's my TED talk on titles. I don't know if any of you want to chime in on that, but I didn't know if this topic was going to come up again during this live stream.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking in terms of hopes, dreams, desires, fears.
There we go.
As opposed to keyword exact keyword matching in your titles, and exact keyword matching might be the best strategy. But you better that strategy better make you a lot of money, or better have a ton, or that keyword better make you a lot of money, or have a ton of search volume.
Yes.
If you're going to target that, best neighborhood in Tampa, Florida, if you're a realtor, you can make a lot of money from that. So yes, definitely do that. But for Scuba, I would assume that he would be better off doing exactly, what you talked about, just kind of, not being exact, not trying to write titles that are exact matches, but being a little bit more emotional in your titles and talking about benefits and fears.
I think you're right, Jake. If you can identify the biggest desires and goals for your target audience and always wrap that up in the title and not worry too much about the very specific solution that you're providing or the answer, it makes it so much more accessible to the wider target audience. So try to consider that in mind. I'm going to take a rest now because I've said a lot there. We're going to look at Ben Van Kirk, 750 subscribers plus. Jeff, I'll let you lead on this one, and then Jake can chime in afterwards.
Yeah, sure, man. So one of the things I like about Ben's channel, well, if we scroll back up to the top there is a value prop of sorts at the very top. So build it yourself, DIY, easily done. I would probably focus on, that proposition as opposed to having their name so big, because here we have Ben Van Kirk, and then just under it, Ben Van Kirk, and then at Ben Van, so you don't need it 3 times like that. So I would think do it either build it yourself or even DIY, easily done. 3 words, huge value prop. You can still have your picture up there. Would be a way to kind of clean up that banner. And also your about section. If you guys are noticing, they're putting the first line of your about section now right on the homepage. Yeah. So it's like, are you again subscribing to this channel? Think of something a little bit better that you can put as that first line, right? That can really work for you. Not so much to get people to subscribe, more than anything else, just to reinforce the value prop that's in your channel banner, if anything. But that would be, yeah, boom. Look at that.
There we go.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. So something like that can really go a long way. Just at making sure that everything is in alignment. As far as sort of like the branding and the value proposition is really what we want to focus on when somebody lands on your channel. Is this the right channel for me? Am I in the right place for the information that I'm looking for? Yes, cool, right? So we don't need to know so much about your name, but more about what you're going to do for me as a viewer. Secondarily, I'm gonna look at the thumbnails, and some of them are much cleaner than others. Some of them, the background makes it a little too busy for me personally. Like there's this build a date impressing wine caddy. So it says no spills, but the background, that blurred background is still, I don't know, it kind of makes it look a little funky to me, but also it's not respecting the rule of thirds either. So things are just, it kind of lacks balance, and that always kind of bugs me on a personal level. But that's something where I think we could definitely do some improvement. Let's see, trying to see what else we've got. But one of the ones that I do like though is this one from 2 months ago, build a whiskey barrel chair in 60 minutes at the very top with the bluish background. Because it's very simple, it's just, he's kind of in there, although I would argue whether or not he needs to be in this thumbnail. But it's very simple and straightforward. It's showing the thing, you've got a name, you've got an arrow, pretty straightforward as far as the thumbnail goes.
Does the size of him versus the objects he's building make it a little weird? Like, he makes himself look a bit like a borrower in this one. And like, are you building a ginormous barrel chair? I guess it's just creating a bit of confusion, perhaps, in the thumbnails that I'm a little concerned about.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's something that can kind of throw people off a little bit sometimes. So I would argue in some of these thumbnails, were you really necessary? Right?
Yeah.
Yes. And that's something where you have to experiment. And this is something where I actually talk about this quite a bit with people and other creators is about when they're making their thumbnails to have multiple versions of it, and one of them with them and one of them without them in it, where they can focus on just the thing. Because if we're talking about making a thing or we're reviewing a thing, then have that thing be the focus of the thumbnail. You necessarily don't need to be in it. And this doesn't work for every channel. Obviously, if you're doing like makeup and beauty, you need to have your face in the thumbnail, right? That's a kind of a given. But if you're talking about like a mobile phone, then the mobile phone is going to be the focus. You don't necessarily have to be in that thumbnail. And I've done it both ways. I've done it with my face, without my face, and most of the time without my face tends to work better as far as click-through rate. So that's something where I would experiment with what they're doing and have a second thumbnail where it's just focused on the product.
Now, in terms of the titles, Jake, it looks to me like they are starting with a search-based concept and trying to make it a little bit more exciting and intriguing. Would you share those thoughts? The effort's gone into these, but maybe not quite perfectly.
So like the most recent video, I feel like he has kind of a lot of empty words here. Unbelievably simple way. You could, this is a little, I think it's a good example of, showing not, or really telling, not showing. Unbelievably simple way to install Blum soft closed drawer slides. Instead of unbelievably simple, you could just say, install these slides in 10 minutes or in 5 minutes.
There you go.
So that would be a show, not tell. Unlock the secret to building the perfect mudroom cabinet. Maybe, what's your audience really looking for? In a mudroom cabinet, are they looking, 10-minute, install this, 3-piece mudroom cabinet in 10 minutes, versus unlock the secret. I feel like he's trying to be a little too hypey. Instead of being more direct, speaking in terms of, of benefits, something for beginners, talking about timeframes. So like, in 10 minutes, installing something, quickly, not just saying quickly, but like in 10 minutes or in 30 minutes, or talking about, this, like this barrel whiskey chair. He said, doing that in 60 minutes, like, that's a, one example. And then also, talking about maybe like, this barrel whiskey chair only has like 3 parts, right? Like, you only need to make like, 5, screw in 5 screws or something. Just, talking, showing that it's easy, or showing that it's, whatever your audience really wants, showing them instead of telling them.
This title, for example, Top Secret, You Should Know, Expert Level. He tried to reinforce it 3 times. So like, as you say, like, it loses its impact after the first one. So like, you choose one of these, I guess, selling marketing techniques in the title, but not 3 of them, and then go with that.
And the thumbnail was a missed opportunity for this.
Okay. Oh, you mean like including some of that information in the thumbnail as well? Well, instead of in the title.
No. Also what I mean with the thumbnail was just to do, if it's top secret, do the secret face. Like, shh, this is a secret.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's a good example of, like we talked earlier about being complimentary.
Yeah.
So you don't have to, that's one word that you can take out of your title and instead just, show that in your thumbnail.
Okie dokie. That is Ben Van Kirk. We're going to move on to the next channel, which is Home in Progress. And they have 40 subscribers. Afraid your channel banner is somewhat vague. So maybe that might be one of the jobs for you to do. I'm looking at posting schedule, and they've done 1 video in 3 weeks. So they are returning to YouTube, presumably. It's the second gardening channel of the day. And I'm going to try and do a pun here, Jake, but they're not sowing enough videos in the soil to allow their channel to grow.
Yes.
I'm here for another hour.
I totally agree. And this is kind of the opposite problem that the previous channel that we looked at has. These titles are too simple. They're too matter of fact, too straight up. So adding some sort of click trigger, adding some negativity, some curiosity, some desire, time frames, some seasonality. in 2023, or, like it's spring right now. So, what are you planting in the spring? Yeah, adding something to kind of spice these up and get people more interested.
What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree with Jake on that one. And I mean, obviously, I think this is all the content, right? Unless they're doing shorts, it seems like we've only got a few videos. Let's see. Yeah, well, they're obviously doing more shorts, if anything.
And the shorts aren't doing too bad. They're getting, 1,000 views, 100 views. So
yeah, not bad.
Good start there.
Yeah, and that's one thing where they could also play off of that too. Like if you have a short where the idea tended to work well, if you could do a longer version of that as a normal piece of content, that can work in your favor as well. Because obviously it was something that worked for that audience that you're targeting. And we want to be targeting the same people with our shorts and with our long form videos, at least avatar wise. We want to be aiming at the same target audience. I think more than anything else, definitely improving on the titles for sure. I think thumbnails, that's going to take a little work, but it feels like even though they've been at this for a while, but it looks like they took a long break, I think practice is really going to make perfect with improving not only the titles and the thumbnails, but also consistency and coming up with ideas. So I think more than anything else, they do have to brainstorm some ideas. Research is really going to be key into that. Looking at not only, at the very beginning, looking at competitive channels in this space that are talking about the things that you want to talk about, whether that's gardening, whether that is actual growing vegetables, whatever that is, because not all gardening channels are the same either. There's so many different niches within that. We've seen a ton of different ones where some people just do flowers. Some people are about lawn care. Some people are about landscaping. Some people are about hydroponics. There's so many different avenues that you can take. So I would really be focusing on ones that are doing similar to what you're doing, looking at the topics that seem to be working right now and seeing if that can play into your own strategy.
I think some of these titles as well in the shorts are a bit of an improvement on the long form ones, Jake. I find this one intriguing. I don't even know what that word is. Hydrangea is not dead yet.
Hydrangea.
It'd be, combined with an interesting thumbnail, that could be one of those really curious search-based videos with those stakes. I'm going to rescue these dying plants in my garden. I think there's potential there. Building my perfect raising bed, ... Again, I think that has a bit more intrigue than just these very functional titles that we were seeing here. But that is home in progress. I'm going to move on to the next channel now. Wildlife Perspective just cracked 2,000 subscribers. They've been on YouTube for a while now, nearly 400 videos. And I'll let Jake lead with this one. What did you spot here?
So the biggest thing I saw is that they use a closer look often. They use it too much. The American bullfrog, a closer look. The common snapping turtle, a closer look. You're kind of wasting an opportunity to share something that's very interesting or different about each of these animals. It kind of seems like kind of the lazy way to write titles. Like, oh yeah, this worked once. Let me just plug this in every time. And I get it. I've definitely been there. But try to pull out the most interesting thing about your video about this animal, and then share that or kind of tease that in the title to get people to be like, oh, what's really going on with this northern leopard frog, right? This northern leopard frog is with the bullfrog, the biggest frog in America, and maybe not even like saying it's a bullfrog or something. Or the most poisonous frog in America, or the rarest snake in America. Just picking up different angles, different interesting angles than just a closer look.
Yeah, I was wondering, like this one, for example. I don't know if this is true or not, but you could say this frog has terrible camouflage because it's very easy to see in the thumbnail. Now that might not be true, but like something along those lines to make it intriguing. And you're right, Jake, in the sense that when gamers do Let's Plays, they'll tend to just do the title of the game and then part 1 to 50 or whatever it is. And you start to sense that the creator is just phoning it in when it comes to the title. And that's the first thing the viewer sees. And so they're failing at the marketing aspect of the thumbnail and the title there. What do you think, Jeff?
Well, one thing that I was going to say with some of those thumbnails is, and it's kind of an older thing that we've said multiple times. I'm not a fan of that red text, man. You know what I mean? That's one of the things that was kind of throwing me off. I'm not, yeah, you see what I'm saying? Like how we have Lost here and then the 10 herping YouTubers. Yeah, so not really a fan of that, man. So one thing I would do if I was them, and the same advice I gave before, was one, settle on a font. 2, settle on a color. And one way that you know a color is going to work well against all these backgrounds would be to switch from yellow over to white. It's going to pop off as long as it has, you know, a shadow or a stroke. It's going to pop off of pretty much almost any background except for white. So that's one thing I would like for them to do, is sort of settle, because they keep bouncing around on fonts. They keep bouncing around on colors, even in their latest videos. So that's one thing that sort of just bugs me. Like I would like for them to be able to settle on something that has a good look. Also, the tiny text just doesn't do it for me, man. If we're going to have 1 word or 2 words, 3 words, we need to make those words much more legible, because like we have this hog nose one. There's so much unused space that if you were going to use a word in this thumbnail, although I'd argue it may not need it, you got to make that word legible, man.
Yep. I couldn't agree with both of you there. So that is wildlife perspective. Next channel actually comes from Twitter. Occasionally, Viper, a regular here on the live streams, will throw out a thumbnail competition. And whenever we do this, the winner of that competition gets a channel audit. So you've probably been sitting here for the last 80 minutes catching Sena thinking, why has my channel not been audited? Well, we're going to address that right now by taking a look at your Pokemon card collecting channel. I believe we audit so many of these, usually like 1 per week. So you have 153 subscribers, 50 videos. So presumably, by the fact that you've only got 4 long form pieces of content, looks to be 1 a week, you are mostly doing shorts. So what we're typically going to say here is the star of the show for your Pokemon card channel are the cards. And it looks as if, in terms of your format, you have a reaction of you opening the cards. And I like the fact that you've kind of just cropped yourself to like 1/4 of the top of the short, and then the card takes up most of the shot. I think that's a really interesting format. And the videos seem to be doing okay on occasion. Some get thousands of views, some get virtually no views. So I'm wondering why that is. Jake, I have a theory here, and I cannot prove this because I've not succeeded at this in myself. But when a creator has a YouTube short that does really well, and when I have this, I'm going to try it, but we haven't had a really successful short yet, I'm going to recycle that title. Now, the type of titles I'm looking at here are like how to grow on YouTube. And it might be like, I know it sounds weird because we usually wouldn't do this in long form content, but I may do day 1, day 2, day 3, and so on. In this one, we have a video that has, let's see this one. Can we finally get evolving strikes? I'm wondering if you could just recycle that title and say, can we get fill in the blank, the card that I'm really looking for in this title? And you repeat that over and over again to try and get a consistency with views. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm just throwing it out there as an idea, because this channel, for some reason, is getting 10 views on some shorts and 2,000 views on another. And that must be really frustrating from a creator's perspective. I don't know if there's a question in there. Jake, Jeff, chime in.
I do have thoughts. So I think, when we're talking about good titles and shorts and stuff, what we're really talking, or, kind of the most important thing that we're talking about is a good topic or a good idea. So, a lot of things can be solved with a great idea. If you have a really good idea, you don't need to worry about somebody, hopefully they'll make it to the end of the video. Like if it's a great idea, they're already interested in it, in your topic. So they're more likely to stay. That's going to make writing a good title a lot easier. It's going to make making a thumbnail a lot easier because you can just kind of show that great idea. And I think that's the same with shorts. Is that how to start a YouTube channel on day 1? Day 1. That's a good idea because people are kind of in this you know, they're it's unknown, right? So they want to know, like, you know, you don't need to force somebody to be interested in that. So yes, of course, like, you know, a short about that would probably do well. You know, long form video about that would probably do well. So, you know, we're looking for, you know, for winners here in, you know, in topic. So, you know, maybe let's finally hit, or, you know, maybe that's the thing, or maybe it's evolving skies. Maybe that's the, you know, that's the, you know, the big idea that people are drawn to. So, you know, so I don't know. I think just, you know, really trying to think about what are the big themes that your audience wants, or is interested in, and then how do you kind of recycle those big themes?
I noticed that we're using the word hit in every single title, but it doesn't look as if that is the winning word, so to speak. And then I saw that you were using week in some of these. Like, is this the biggest hit of the week? And again, the consistency isn't quite there again. So I'm still trying to find that magic title formula for shorts, and it's eluding me. Jeff, help us out here. How can we help catching Sena?
Well, one of the things that I would probably think about trying is if you're averaging, like, you know, you're normally getting 1,000 views, 900 views, 1,500 views on your shorts, and you upload one and it just hits like 10. Normally what I would probably think about doing is, especially if it's still following the format of your more successful shorts, I would probably take it down and re-upload it at a different time of day, or maybe a different day of the week. Because I've seen that happen so many times where people upload a bunch and just one of them just doesn't hit, but when they redo it at a different time of day, or a different day of the week, it tends to work well. So that's something that I would probably try if they're seeing some of these that just don't pop off at all. Especially when they're consistently getting that 1,000 views, 1,500 views on each one, and they haven't done anything drastically different. So that would be my advice as far as the ones that aren't working, to see if they can pick up a few more views on those. And aside from that, I wouldn't sweat it too much. One thing we always hear from creators, because they kind of don't, you know, they're newer, they kind of don't understand, is, you know, oh, you know, my shorts get 1,000 views and then they just flatline and die. Why is YouTube killing my shorts? Like, that's not how that works. This is sort of how YouTube is right now, because they test shorts so quickly that if it just, it'll go out to your initial viewers, the ones who regularly watch your stuff. But if it doesn't really appeal, doesn't have crazy levels of retention, then that's it. It'll just stop at that point. Not to say that it can't work again in the future, because we've seen that also as well. I've seen people get millions of views on shorts after months of them being dead. So just something to think about when it comes to their short strategy.
I just noticed here, and this just could be anecdotal, but, and, you know, I was saying how good the video format was at the top, where you had your reaction and then you opening the card at the same time. There was a level of consistency here. Like, each of these shorts was getting like 1,500 views. Curious, how old are these? And these were only like a month ago. I don't know. Maybe you want to experiment with just going back to this more basic format. Maybe it is easier on the eyes for a viewer and they prefer this text at the bottom as opposed to you reacting at the top. Maybe they prefer the captions. It's just an idea to try and get you out of this, you know, peaks and troughs funk that you tend to be in with your shorts right now.
And I would also want to clarify too that when I said to re-upload those ones that didn't work well, delete this one first. So you don't want to just have the same one up on your channel twice. So delete it first, wait a few days, upload it.
Okay, I'm encouraging to see that your long form content, even though you're not doing that much. The view count's promising. You know, more views and subscribers, gradual increase in views. I don't know if you want to experiment and investigate that a little bit more over time. But it seems to be shorts is your bread and butter at the moment.
Yeah, but to be clear though, if you want to turn this into something that's going to earn you some money, like actually monetizable, long form content is going to be the way that you're going to want to roll. Just to be very clear, because what we've seen from creators that are getting literally millions, hundreds of millions of views per month, it's not even close to creators that are doing far less views, but in long form, it's shocking the difference. So yeah,
the stench of terrible RPMs is wafting its way through the YouTube community now, as opposed to when it comes to YouTube Shorts. All right, I think I've started the music. I can't hear it though. Let me check. Let me play that button again. Right, that should have started it. We're going to go back to our super chats for one last time. So if you've done a super chat, we're going to try and grab them now. But then we probably won't do any more after this. So I'm going to try and blast through these. Thank you. How to Man. That's the wrong button. Let me press that one. Can you give me a white glove evaluation on my 2 channels, Toxic Avengers and How to Man? Much obliged. First of all, I don't know what a white glove evaluation is. I've never heard of that term before. Maybe that's just me being an idiot. But as we say, super chats do not guarantee you a channel audit, because then everybody would be giving us super chats and we'd be doing this for about 8 hours. And Jeff and I would lose the will to live and never do a live stream again. We like to keep this free as well. We want to keep this live streaming, channel auditing free of charge. But thank you for the super chats. Right Hook Boxing. Does YouTube dislike baked in captions? I see no evidence why that would be.
Yeah, I've never seen any issues with baked in captions at all.
I would, especially for shorts, put them in because they may be watched on mute. Shelly, Fascinate. My content are shorts with wholesome videos of other users, like Daily Dose of Internet channel, and I edit them by adding dialogue and adding to my own comments. Will I risk getting strikes or other issues? It's that often asked question of reused content, repetitious content, copyright, transformation. I don't think we are either qualified as non-YouTube employees or experts in law to answer that, especially when it comes to your individual channel. How can we button this up in a nice, simple way, Jeff? Such a hard question to answer.
Yeah, what I would say is this, as a rule of thumb, anytime you're using content that you didn't make, you run the risk.
Indeed.
That's
indeed.
the bottom line. So just like Rob said, we can't give you an absolute because we're not copyright lawyers, and 2, we're not YouTube employees. But anytime that you're using content that you didn't make, you are running that risk. So just something to keep in mind as you continue with this channel, that if claims come in, if copyright strikes happen, you are skating on thin ice by using other people's content.
Next super chats comes from Youngster Joey Videos. Any tips for someone who wants to slightly change channel topics but doesn't want to restart since already monetized and has an overlapping community?
Well, they're talking about a channel pivot here. So one of the things that I would recommend is making sure that whatever they're trying to pivot to is actually close to what they're already talking about. So if, let's say theoretically that they were playing Forza racing games and they want to switch to Gran Turismo, you're at least keeping that racing theme, right? Or if you're a channel that's about, baking and you want to switch to doing, maybe cooking breakfast or barbecue, you're still talking about food. So at least you're kind of making a pivot. But if you're going to go from baking to car wash detailing, that's a hard pivot. That's a hard pivot. So that's something that I want to make sure that they're going to do it, at least try to keep it as close as possible. Otherwise, your best bet, honestly, is to start a new channel.
Would you also consider unlisting these popular videos from your old topic, which may still bring in the wrong audience, and being transparent with your audience, maybe, Jeff, and telling them either in the community tab or like in a segment of a video, hey, I know this video is a little different. This is the reason why I've decided to go in a new direction. I hope you join me on this journey. If not, all the best to you. Keep on, choose this channel to watch instead, or whatever. Just
transparency is key.
Yeah.
And they're going to shed subs. There's no way around it. And it's going to be, pivots are always going to be a tough thing. So the closer you can keep it to your current audience's interests, the better. But when you go full left on them, don't be surprised if the videos are tanking. Don't be surprised if you're shedding subs, because if you're going to go really away from their interests, then this is why you would need to start a new channel.
Old Man Gib, I think you give us a super chat every single week, and that, yes, is a subliminal message for you to keep doing that. Congrats to everybody here trying to get better at YouTube. We will succeed where others never start. I like the attitude. Keep at it. We've got this. Yes, everybody.
He's also a maxer.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
awesome. I think that's a very valid point there, that everybody watching this live stream is like 98% of like most of the people on YouTube who've watched videos and always said to themselves, I think I'll start a channel, but maybe tomorrow. You have, and you're trying to learn from us and other YouTube educators. Jiggy look back. I have found with shorts, if I post at 5:30 p.m, my shorts do really well. If I post any other time, it's a mixed bag. Regardless of quality, it's strange. So Jiggy look back. What you need to do is tell everybody what time zone you're in, so that they can align their posts for exactly the same time, and give it a try. Who knows? It may work. And the final super chat. So we're not going to take any more super chats after this. Hi, I'm Evie. I am 9. Wow, welcome. Welcome to YouTube. I've put my channel up for audit, Evie Games, but it's on my dad's email because I don't have my phone. Sorry. He does help though. Well, thank you for the message and the super chat. We will try and audit your channel in the next section, which is coming up right now. But yeah, we don't audit channels based on super chats. And also, there is this question about whether you should be on YouTube, or at least have your dad's support and permission to do that on YouTube. So welcome to this wonderful journey. And that's why we are a PG live stream, because we welcome creators of all ages and all types. All right, Jeff, I think it is. When I press a couple of buttons, time for your part of the live stream, which looks and sounds a little bit like this. Yeah, there he is. There he is. I'm trying to find the right button. There we go. Yeah, so what we're going to do now, everybody, when I get this screen up, let me just press some buttons in the background and press that, and then I can reduce Jeff to normal size and bring this screen up. So we are a little late on this one, but every single live stream, we go completely random. So we have 444 submissions and 332 submissions in the gaming section. We're going to put this claw into our ball pit and pick out number 272. We have no idea what we're going to come across here. So I always say, first impressions, when I go to Master Ozzy's channel or Ozzy's channel, and I work out what this channel is about in the first 5 seconds, and do I consider myself to be in the right place? So the first problem is, I think that you're an ultimate game experience, which is fine, but you filled this out. Look at this. We asked you, are you a gaming channel? And you said, yes. This is the wrong form. Go here. And then you continue to fill out the form. And we have a strict policy here. If you fill out the wrong form, you're not going to get a channel audit. I'm sorry. That's the way the cookie crumbles. Fill out the right form.
RIP. F in chat.
It's brutal. I know it's brutal. But fill out the right form.
Yeah, you got to follow instructions, man. So I know it's hard. I know people are in a hurry, but you have to follow instructions.
Now, I think this person just gave us a super chat. It's a complete coincidence that we've randomly picked them now for a audit. Shelly Fascinates. They are strictly a shorts channel. They don't even have the video tabs on their channel, which is, I think, probably the first time I've ever seen this. It's an exclusive shorts channel.
Yep.
I find fascinating stories and retell them to people who haven't heard them. Okay, this is interesting. I am thrown a little bit by the cat as a channel avatar. Kind of makes me feel like it's a cat channel. So I don't know if you want to change that. Having said that, we have some standout videos here, Jeff. 6,500 views, 2,500 views, 39,000 views. Interesting. But I'm still not entirely sure what the channel's about.
Yeah, I mean, because they were saying that their channel is something like a daily dose of internet. So they're just kind of pulling videos from other sources.
Oh, is it this channel? Right. Okay.
So it feels random to me as well. And this is why, one, they have the risk of running into copyright issues. But secondly, because it's pulling random videos, I would really start thinking about, if this is what you want to do, I would really start thinking about who it is that you're targeting, because then that way your videos aren't completely random. They all start kind of having a theme. And I've seen channels that do this. One in particular comes to mind is actually a TikTok channel. I don't remember their name, but all they do is focus on positive news stories, right? So they're using other people's content, but they are in the frame. They are talking to you, explaining what's going on. So they are reframing the content. They're adding context. They're in it. Their voices in it. Their faces in it. They're narrating it in order to transform the content. But it works really well because their theme is bringing you positive news on a daily basis, right? Because the world is so full of negativity that they're trying to be the opposite of it. So they know who they're aiming at. And that's something that I would probably want them to think about, is really think about who they're targeting with these videos and what would make sense to that person. And that way they can start getting some consistency on the channel and the kind of videos that they're putting up.
From what I remember from the Daily Dose of the Internet, they always get permission from the original content creator, but they kind of have that clout and the contacts to do that. As you say, Jeff, does narrating and putting text on a clip transform it enough? We're not going to be able to answer that. But I think from a broader perspective, this doesn't make you original as a content creator. You are easily replaceable and easy to replicate, because essentially that's what you're doing to other people's content on YouTube. So a great question, Jeff. Like, what is the long-term play here? Like, ultimately in a year's time, where do you see yourself? And if it's monetized through these shorts, we've already established that you're not going to get much revenue from shorts specifically. And if just one of these creators discovers that you're using their content and it's got 1 million views or something, and they're not happy about that, you could run the risk of a copyright strike takedown. So be aware of all of these pitfalls as you continue to go forward with your YouTube journey. I do see here that you've got art on Redbubble, and I saw in the description that you mentioned that you do. As I see, so they're telling us a source, and they're even admitting where they're grabbing it from. And if it was from TikTok, why does it not have a TikTok watermark on it? Is that because you've removed a watermark? That makes me even more concerned a little bit as to the source of the original content.
Agreed.
Okay, we'll move on. Sorry if that wasn't helpful news or fantastic news, but we just don't want to see your channel terminated like in 3 months' time. All right, we're going to try and tackle a gaming channel here. It would be hilarious if we actually brought up that channel, filled out the wrong form.
They still have a chance. They still have a chance. If it's in the right form, they have a chance.
If it's in the right form. If it's in the right form. Okay, we are looking at a channel called QJCosmic. And I've seen Pokemon on the channel banner. I'm seeing Pokemon on the thumbnails.
What does Savage say? They're Pokemans?
It's a Pokemon update channel, I think, from what I can see. So, Jeff, if we go maybe to you for some thoughts about how they can make their update Pokemon titles exciting with this outlier. I mean, that they have just gone viral here for their channel. Just noticing here. This video has 87,000 views, and it's got 500 views per hour, which is fantastic. So I guess if we were to look at this channel collectively, the three of us, what does this channel do next?
So I have a question for you guys.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on the length of the video? So this one, this most recent one is 28 minutes long.
Yep.
The one before that is 3 minutes long.
Mm.
What are your and a lot of the videos that I or the channels that I skimmed through yesterday, you know, they're making 2, 3, 4 minute videos.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if, you know, how important video length is.
Well, I would say in this particular instance, all cards are off the table. I would make another 30-minute video that goes, maybe the reason this video was so successful is because it goes into the minute detail about the infinite fusion Pokemon, and nobody else can compete with that level of detail. And so I would be looking to replicate this format of video as much as possible. Typically, what we'd say is if the video lengths are long and they're not getting any views, that suggests an audience retention problem, and they may want to make shorter videos. But in this case, I'm just looking at a one video and thinking, how can I capitalize on this as soon as possible? I don't know if that's the answer you wanted, Jake, but it's a good question.
No, it's actually an excellent question, and I think a part of this is for sure video length, because that watch time is going to be way up compared to some of their other videos. I've seen this effect myself when most of my videos were in between the 10 and 15-minute range, and when I would go super in depth on something at 30 minutes, those videos tended to perform a lot higher, like a 2 out of 10, a 1 out of 10. Which for whatever reason tended to work really well for me. But the value has to be there. You can't just extend out a video. So for people listening to us now, they're like, oh my God, I got to make 30-minute videos. No, no. It has to have value. There has to be a reason for you to be talking about something for that length of time. You have to keep people interested, right? That's how you're going to get that watch time up on that video, because people care, right? People care about Pokemon Infinite Fusion. I beat Pokemon Infinite Fusion with only grass types, right? So there is stakes here. They're showing you a challenge. This is the thing that Dan always talks about, right? As opposed to just do a play with me. They put down, like, here's how I'm going to do this. I'm going to, go into this fight with one arm tied behind my back, right? That's kind of what's going on here. So they're only going to use this one type, which is cool. Like there's stakes here. There's a challenge here. And I think that's what works well. But don't make a video longer just to make it longer. It has to have value for that length of time. And I love the fact that it's a half-hour video and they actually added chapters. Super cool. Very thoughtful. And it definitely improves the viewer's experience, because some of them might not want to watch a specific thing, but they can skip to the sections that they want. So super helpful.
It looks like there's a story being told here as well, that the only way that you're going to get satisfied by this video is by watching all of it. So my thought here is how I beat Pokemon Infinite Infusion with. So is there a different type, like with what, fire types, grass types? I am a complete Pokemon novice.
Yeah,
so
same.
It's like, how do you just replace that word and then do the challenge all over again? That's what I'm thinking to capitalize on this.
Exactly. Water type, fire type, whatever those types are, do this again. Do that again. So, and it doesn't have to be like your very next video. I would suggest it should be, you know what I mean? But even if it's something where, it can be a banger of a video and you can do this once a month or even once every couple of weeks while you still have your other videos in between, this is something that could totally work for you, especially since YouTube's going to know exactly who to put this in front of, because they've already got 80,000 views worth of data on who wants to watch this video. When you make the next one, it knows exactly who to push that video in front of.
It looks as if the posting volume was pretty consistent, like all of these were from a month ago. And then I don't know, did you take a break here in order to put together this video and now it's paid off?
Yeah.
I think if that's the case, your audience is probably willing to wait, because that next video I think is so important right now. You really gotta, all of your traffic is basically coming from this video, so you have to satisfy those 87,000 viewers optimally with the next video that you release. I don't know, Jake, if we've just trampled all over your original question there. But anything else that you may have spotted here?
No, I mean, I do love the constraint. You guys said stakes earlier. I often think about it as a constraint, and that works well across pretty much all niches. I saw one video that was I survived 24 hours in the desert with only one water bottle or something, and it's exactly that same format. It's doing something crazy with constraint, making it harder on yourself. So yeah, I love that. I love that format, and anybody could use it for the most part. And yeah, try it again.
Let's pick out another channel.
Hey, while you do that really quick, Rob, I'm just going to say thank you to the people that have left super chats. We aren't taking super chats anymore for questions, but I just want to say thank you to the people that did leave us a couple super chats. Just want to say thank you.
It is appreciated. You can get some sound effects from me.
What a guy.
There you go. You can have an air horn as well. All right. Next channel. Then this is a channel. Whoa. Hang on. Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you. Your video froze up a little there.
My entire screens have just gone blank, so I'm waiting for them to reboot. Hopefully you'll see it. There we go. Right.
Yep.
So Nolans Airsoft. My computer is still lagging at the moment. There we go. So they have 79 subscribers. Oh my god. Apologies. my windows are moving. It's like the computer just decides to reboot randomly halfway through a live stream. Right. I think I've got everything working again.
Oh,
So an airsoft channel.
so that
Someone else-
hamster that's in your computer, you got to feed it a better diet, man.
Loading. What?
Is it the hamster that's inside your computer? You got to give it a better diet. You know, keep turning that wheel. You know.
Come on.
Oh man. All right. Let's see.
I do wonder, why is there a weightlifting video in here?
That's a good observation, isn't it? Oh, well, so the title makes sense.
Yes.
But the thumbnail, which is the first thing you're going to see, that's what's going to leave the viewer asking, why is this here on this channel? It's one of those where it's a bit too clever. It's like the creators overthought. Like I think if I put a dumbbell here and then I put that in a title, then the viewer is going to be able to work out from the thumbnail that they need to read the title, which is then going to be intriguing enough to make them click. And instinctively, as you say, Jake, people are just skimming through thumbnails. I don't think they're going to allow the creator enough time for them to figure out what this video is about.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, maybe having someone with like a dumbbell in one hand and like, an airsoft gun in the other, that could be something that you're kind of telling them, hey, this is for you. Like, this, if you're into airsoft, this is also for you. This, this dumbbell, that could be, something you could do. I love how they talk about beginners, beginner airsofters a lot.
Yeah.
Because when you think about, who is, well, at least for search, really, and or who's researching airsoft, it's often beginners, because they're the ones who are eager to learn, who are looking to learn. So they're if you call them out, by name, hey, beginners, this is for you, then they're more likely to click. So I do love that. And then I mean, I like that 5 tips to get better at airsoft. I like it. It's, potentially, slightly on the basic side, but I think, if they keep doing it, I think they'll be able to get there. I think this was one of those, one of the reasons why I asked you, does video length matter? Because we have a couple 2-minute videos. The weightlifting is a 1 minute and 4 second video.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I guess just playing around with what works for your channel would be a good strategy for this channel.
Jeff, I can see this channel is really trying, not only with titles, but with thumbnails as well. And sometimes they get it right, or they're going in the right direction. And sometimes I feel not quite so much. I look at this one and I feel as if it's too basic. If you were going to say 5 tips, maybe you should point to a really interesting tip. Whereas this one, I think, does have more intrigue, but it's perhaps just missing one crucial element. And that's like the potential distance with a question mark on it, or blurred out. So you know the shooting in the direction, you can see from the title how far can you shoot it. It's maybe just missing 1 or 2 elements. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I completely agree, because I mean, they have the arrow that's kind of pointing in like to kind of nowhere, essentially. And maybe that's the target down there, but even then, giving that sense of distance, because there was a golf channel that I was working with who did a really good job of this, where they were saying like how to land how to get your ball on the green. So they would show kind of a similar angle, a little bit more behind them in the thumbnail, and then on either side they would have these red X's, and then where the green was, they would have a green check mark. Like this, it's kind of illustrating, hey, this is how you get this here. Right. So just some ideas where a bit of thumbnail research on this, and even if it's not just in your own niche, but you can look at other niches as well to get some ideas of what could work, would definitely come in handy. But I like where their head's at, because they are thinking, and this is one of the things that I like to see. And this takes time. Like here's the thing that I want to make sure that everybody hears us in this chat, everybody who's watching on replay as well, is that you're not going to do this overnight. You're not going to instantaneously become an amazing YouTuber and know all the ins and outs of thumbnails and titles and everything. So we want you to take the information that we're giving you here, ingest slowly, and make incremental upgrades in the way that you're researching stuff and the way that you're making these changes to your channel over time, this stuff will definitely make a difference. And I can see that in the level of effort that they're already putting in. So I just want them to focus on research a bit more to get some better ideas, not only for the thumbnails, but also for the titles, which is, you know, something that Jake shows us how to do, why we're telling people to check out his newsletter. Because there's winning models out there. There's winning models out there that you can apply to yourself. And this is for everyone. And they're not even all necessarily in your niche. I've pulled so many ideas from like food niches and applied them to a tech channel, and it's worked so well. So
I think they're having a lot of success in shorts. Some of these are getting thousands of views. This one, I think, is an interesting idea. What I would suggest you do, if possible, is if your camera has a slow motion setting on it, it can go down to 240 frames per second. Can you imagine how visually satisfying it might be to destroy different items with an airsoft gun?
Yeah,
I think there's potential there.
Even at 60 frames. Let's say theoretically they have a phone and they can't shoot at 120 or at 240. Even at 60 frames, you can still slow that down by 50%, 60% to really kind of give you a slower motion shot, and it would be totally. It would be super satisfying to see it like that.
And just one final thought, because there are guns in here, it feels as if you're on the right side of the YouTube community guidelines at the moment, but maybe just check them as you move closer to monetization, because there are certain rules around guns and such on YouTube. All right, what time is it? Oh, okay, we've got a bit more time here to use the CLAAAW. Let's dig in there and pull out another gaming channel. Oh, sorry about this. Getting everything messed up. Right, there we go. So this is channel 290 from gaming. What was the number I picked, wasn't it? 290. Yes. And digitally Squirrel is the next channel we are going to audit. It's better be a channel about the 1980s hit Nintendo game Alvin and the Chipmunks. It is not.
Color me disappointed.
Splatoon? No. Nintendo games. Genuinely.
It's not even Chip and Dale.
Yeah. And Rescue Rangers. So what I'm seeing here, Jake, is a intriguing portion of the title, pipe, keyword stuffing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think you need the keyword in there. I think it's probably taking up space. I don't know about gaming. I don't think you kind of need to just like, kind of plug in Splatoon 3 at the end of everything. Again, I think I would probably try to, try to add a little bit more intrigue and make it a little bit more tangible, so that someone can understand what they're about to watch.
Yeah.
Versus like, that one, 3 days, like what is, I mean, I know about, that's the last video game I played. So, so I understand the 3 days part, but I don't know. I mean, that doesn't mean anything to me. Yeah. Yes. Like I understand that it's 3 days, but what about 3 days? 2 days left, maybe. I don't know. I'd probably try to get something that you can, I can feel it. I know what's about to happen. We talked about constraints earlier. So me trying to plug in, with some constraints. I don't know, just being a little bit more tangible, so somebody knows what the video is about. Before they just kind of scroll on by.
I'm not sorry for getting sidetracked here, Jake. So you're saying the Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask was the last video game you played?
That is correct.
Why is that?
I don't know, because I don't know. It was 20 years ago when I was 10.
Is it because when Zelda went 3D, Zelda went rubbish, and it put you off gaming for life? Because I'm on an individual crusade to try and convince everybody that from The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, the greatest Zelda game of all time, since then, it's been on a downward trajectory. And I feel as if this game ruined your gaming heritage?
It was, it was okay. Ocarina of Time is
Ocarina, yeah, the one
Ocarina, yeah, that
yeah.
was my jam.
Meh.
And I played that game. I beat it like 50 times, and that was it. That was
It's just
the end of my career.
boring.
Hey, listen.
Boring. Yeah. Yes, Jeff.
Hey, listen.
Yeah.
That's Ocarina of Time, man.
All right. hey,
listen.
That is the epitome of my childhood.
Yeah, dude, totally. No, that was that's the last Zelda game that was played in this house. My wife was a huge Zelda fan. So she was playing Breath of the Wild. Like, she was a completist, so she was like really trying to complete that. And then we actually got Ocarina of Time on an emulator, so she was playing that as well.
There you go. I found the one person who agrees with me. There's like 100 other comments in the chat which disagreed, but I found the one I needed.
100%
right.
Zelda's going to come in here and stomp everybody.
Jeff, we've spoken a little bit about titles here. What do you think to the thumbnails?
All right, hang on. Let me zoom in here a little bit. So I sort of like what they're doing. It seems like they're doing these different color schemes, possibly based on the game. Because, well, I'm seeing green for this latest Zelda video.
Yeah.
But hold on. It's no. Even then, no, because number 3 here is orange.
Yeah.
So, and then the next one is red. So one of the things, and I get kind of what they're doing, because aesthetically they're trying to kind of match the color scheme to these, or maybe it's a series thing that they're doing, but it's a little confusing for me. So if you're going to be talking about different games, that's where I would separate by color, if anything. When it's a different game, it's a different color, stroke around the thumbnail. But I wouldn't be doing this for the same game, because it's sort of, I don't know, it throws me off a little bit. If it's Zelda, pick a color. If it's Splatoon, pick a color. If it's freaking SpongeBob, pick a color. Whatever, you know what I mean? But let's not do different colors on the same game, if it's a series or whatnot.
Don't bother with the logo. The tiny, can't work out what that is at all in the bottom left-hand corner is my advice. And also, I would argue all of this is either loading screens or artwork from the games. And I spoke about phoning it in previously. I feel as if this is phoning it in as well, because I'm not sure what the context of the artwork is to the video that I'm watching. Like, new weapon. Shouldn't I be seeing a huge zoomed in shot of the weapon and maybe a very important part of the weapon and why it makes it different, unique, or overpowered? These feel somewhat generic types of thumbnails, and not of the game itself.
I think that's an example of show, don't tell.
Yeah.
Kind of what we talked about earlier.
Lovely stuff. All right. I think we can maybe get in just one more video channel. 165. Okay. What have we got next? Not Crystal is the handle. And their channel has 1.4 subscribers. 1,400 subscribers. Is this a gaming channel?
Well, we know it's definitely not Crystal, that's for sure.
Oh, you see, it's a memes. I gotcha memes. Okay, so I don't think it is a gaming channel.
Does that mean a danky meme channel? Is that what that
gotcha memes, and I don't understand this universe at all. So I apologize for not being up to speed here. What I will say is that you are clearly focused on these memes. They're all of a similar length, so you're appealing to that same audience with that shorter attention span with every single video. What I would say is, are you converting these videos into shorts as well? And the answer looks to be yes, but you're not really making them a good viewing experience because they're massively letterboxed, but you're still getting views. I don't know if you maybe want to add some captions over the top or the bottom to make them a better viewing experience. Thumbnail-wise, I think we've got some issues here, Jeff, in that the red text is barely legible on any of these.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, here's the thing. And just to be fair, I'm also not familiar with this niche. Yep. So just to be fair, but I'm assuming that this color scheme could have something to do with what they're talking about. The issue is where it becomes illegible. Like on this 10 days ago, I don't have a father one. It says I don't, and I'm pretty sure it says have a father. I'm looking at this on an ultra wide and I can barely read it.
Yeah.
So it's when it just, if you're going to use text, make it legible. Like on this third one, he doesn't deserve you, at least there, because it's red over the really light backdrop. It's much more legible. The problem is the text above it, I can't read that. So just something to think about when you're doing text on here. Sometimes less is more. And if it's just illegible, there really kind of is no point in using it.
I just want to watch one of the videos to try and see if we get a better understanding. It seems fairly basic in that it's almost like a screenshot moving back and forth, wobbling almost, with some captions at the bottom. You are not allowed to copy my designs and ideas. So presumably this is their original stuff and they're very protective of it. You know, that we were talking about the channel earlier on, which was using other people's content. So this person is very protective of their content. Title-wise, Jake, they feel like they're just an important quote from the episode that's going on, and then maybe the series or the show. Could there be more intrigue in these?
What I do love is that I do love me some negativity. These are pretty dramatic quotes. He doesn't deserve you. Dumb ways to die. I like that. Chance of death. Admit it, you did it. So I like that a lot. There's a lot of words in the titles. And I think that the videos are short and simple. Kind of almost seems to be like the theme, but it's not the case with the titles. You have a quote and you have a pipe and the character and the episode. I think that this audience is probably just scrolling, and it would probably be easier for them to just read like one sentence or one quote or something, versus just a lot of it. Just looking at it, it looks like a lot of words. So if I was scrolling through YouTube and I saw it, it's like, I don't think I want to read all of this. Versus if it was only a quote, maybe that would be a little better. And then showing that these are the characters in the thumbnail, so it's a little bit redundant. So I think you could just make it easier to read if you only had the quote, or you taking out some of it, I think.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of another vidIQ channel audit live stream. We hope you found it valuable, even if your channel did not get audited, because that's what we're hoping to achieve here. We use the channels as a canvas, talk about all sorts of things, from titles to thumbnails to topics, niches, you name it. Hopefully we've talked about it today. And we had a very special guest on, Jake Thomas. Thank you for joining us, Jake. Just remind us again what you do on the internet and why we should sign up to your newsletter.
Thank you for having me, guys. creatorhooks.com is a free weekly newsletter that breaks down viral YouTube videos and why they work and how you can use them for your channel. So it's free, creatorhooks.com.
Boom. And if you want to check out a video that both Jake and myself collaborated on about titles, then it's called Small YouTubers Do This or the Algorithm Will Ignore You. And that's all to do with titles that you should be writing to get those clicks. Jeff, it's been a pleasure as always. Thank you for having joined us at the last minute. It is now, just coming up to the start of your workday? What is it, 9:05?
Yep, something like that, right around there. But I couldn't miss this opportunity to hang out with one of my favorite minds on YouTube.
Thanks, Jeff.
On this,
I
on this
appreciate
matter.
it.
And Rob was here as well.
Fair enough.
Exactly.
It's a pleasure as always, folks.
Rob, you're getting pretty good at that.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. I'll try my best. Do make sure to join us next week, where I believe I will be flying solo, unless Jeff can join me or Viper. It's been a pleasure as always. Do make sure to check out everything there is on vidIQ socials, the YouTube channel, etc., etc. I'm just waffling right now because I'm trying to find the right button to press to take us to the outro.